James is not here. Martha is not here. Instead, Yalda Hakim.
So good to see you, Mark.
We had a bit of a debate, didn't we?
We did.
About whether it should be me coming on your podcast, The World, or you coming on Trump 100.
And it appears you've won.
I couldn't possibly replace Richard Engel.
Well, it seems like I can't replace James and Martha.
Well, let's see.
I'm Yalda Hakim.
And I'm Mark Stone, and it is Friday the 16th of May, day 116 of the Trump presidency, and the end of a pretty remarkable week here in the Middle East. We'll be taking a look at what that means for the region, for America, and for Trump.
And we'll be bringing you my exclusive interview with the senior member of Hamas, who basically is saying that it's Donald Trump who can achieve peace in Gaza.
Well, first of all, Yalda, welcome to Trump 100. Genuinely very happy to have you here. We've both been travelling around the Middle East for Sky News all week, following Donald Trump's remarkable tour from Saudi to Qatar to UAE, and we thought it was only right to end the week by getting together here.
Absolutely, Mark. And, you know, we caught the flight together to Riyadh. And I remember that conversation we had on the flight where we were like, what is the headline going to be? What is actually going to come out of this?
I know, and kind of multiple headlines. There have been surprises as well, the meeting with the Syrian president. There have been disappointments, Gaza, and of course, the meeting that never happened. Remember, it is the case that a few weeks ago it was expected that maybe Trump would meet Putin in Saudi Arabia. We will get to all that and to your interview with Dr. Bassem Naim, the senior figure from Hamas, in a moment. But first, an update on what has happened today, Thursday, as we're recording on this final day of Trump's Middle East tour. As we mentioned yesterday, the United States has a major military base in Qatar, Al Udeid. It is from there that the United States fought its wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so before he left Qatar, of course, Trump made a visit to some of the 8,000 or so troops who are stationed there.
I will never hesitate to wield American power if it's necessary to defend the United States of America or our partners. And this is one of our great partners right here. When we're threatened, America's military will answer our enemies without even thinking about it. We have overwhelming strength and devastating force.
Peace through strength was the message on the banner behind him as he made that speech. And the message that he's been projecting throughout his trip has been just that, peace through strength. The USA is strong, it's confident, it's here to be a power broker and a deal maker.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on the one hand, we've seen the pomp, the ceremony, the wealth, the large sums of money that they've been talking about, trillions and trillions of dollars in investments. And it has been a week about economics and security and big deals, big investments. But on the other hand, geopolitics is never really far away from anything in this part of the world.
Yeah, and they're all wrapped up together. Now, on the flight from Doha to Abu Dhabi, where he went after that rally, kind of was a rally at the airbase, still on board the old Air Force One. The Qataris didn't give him the new one today. Trump was asked about the big breaking story overnight, the collapse of face-to-face talks between Putin, Zelensky, and with perhaps Trump attending as well.
Look, nothing's going to happen until Putin and I get together, okay? And obviously he wasn't going to go. He was going to go, but he thought I was going to go. He wasn't going if I wasn't there. And I don't believe anything's going to happen, whether you like it or not, until he and I get together.
Well, I don't know what you think, Yalda, but it feels to me that, he had set the anticipation so high. The fall was a lot greater for Trump as a consequence, wasn't it? He looks weak.
He sort of did the typical Donald Trump thing where he was speaking off the cuff in moments and saying, maybe I will go, maybe I won't go.
And doublespeak as well, because then he turned it on its head when it turned out Putin wasn't going. He said, well, Putin's only not going because I'm not going.
There was a statement that said Donald Trump is not going to Turkey. And immediately I thought, oh, that's probably because Putin isn't going. And then this list came out of the delegations. And the delegations were low-level officials, Russian officials, which immediately sort of made a mockery of the whole thing.
It did. Once he landed in the United Arab Emirates, we got the same pomp. I mean, it's kind of been like rinse and repeat, hasn't it? Different monarchy, same deal. This time, though, he didn't even have to walk down the steps of Air Force One because the Emiratis had built an air bridge so Trump could step right off Air Force One straight into the air conditioning. I bet he was grateful for that. It has been hot. Warm words and more big deals in the Emirates. Commitments from the Emirates to sign a 10-year, $1.4 trillion investment package for the United States. These figures are so big, they're kind of meaningless, aren't they?
Well, it also feels like, I mean, it's the GDP of some countries. Certainly.
So it can't be true, can it?
Well, this is the big question, isn't it? When we think back to his first term in office, his then Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, talked about $450 billion of a deal with Saudi Arabia. And people say some of them, they just never delivered. But Donald Trump looks for headlines. And these are certainly making headlines. You know, if you bring large sums of money, Washington will sit up and they'll do business with you.
But Yalda, let's talk about Gaza now, because as we've both been saying over the past week, it kind of feels like it's been the elephant in the room or the palaces on this trip. Trump has been preaching peace and cooperation while the fighting has actually intensified. At the beginning of the week, I kind of felt there was some hope. I mean, that the Americans managed to get an American-Israeli hostage out of Gaza after weeks, months of nothing. That was extraordinary. I mean, it was pretty surprising, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, what it did show was how quickly these deals can be struck.
Yeah.
And the fact that Hamas is not going to parade these hostages around, put them on stage, get them to hold certificates, you know, be surrounded by militants on the ground. He was handed over to the Red Cross quietly and taken into Israel. So as you say, a moment of hope. But then again, the airstrikes that we've seen, the dozens of people killed over the course of the last few days has been just gut-wrenching.
And of course, Netanyahu seems to be suggesting that at the point at which Trump leaves the Middle East, he will launch what he's describing. He will conquer Gaza. That was the word that he used. I mean, what next?
Well, who isn't saying they're going to conquer Gaza? On the one hand, Benjamin Netanyahu is saying it. On the other hand, Donald Trump today said, listen, let the US take it and let it turn into a freedom zone, he said. I mean, freedom zone for whom? You know, like, who are they going to bring in? Are the Palestinians going to be there? And so this whole debate, but without an actual clear plan and strategy other than daily airstrikes. I mean, where does this end and how does it end?
Now, as I mentioned earlier, the big story today is your interview with the representative from Hamas here in Doha.
So the interview was with Dr. Bassem Naim. He's a senior Hamas official. He's based here in Doha in Qatar. We can talk about the political office that Hamas has had here for many years. And I've spoken to him a number of times over the course of the last 20 months or so since this war began in Gaza. A couple of things that stood out for me. Number one, he confirmed that Hamas is in direct talks with the United States. That is news because, you know, for the longest time, it's been through the Qataris, the Egyptians, but not directly between Hamas, which is a proscribed terrorist organization in the United States and the UK.
Yeah,
and now they're talking to the administration.
Just sorry to interrupt, but did he tell you who? Is Steve Witkoff in the room?
I teased that idea as is it Witkoff? You know, is it someone else? He was very coy about exactly who. He said, we've reached out to the administration. They've responded positively.
Let's have a listen to a bit of it.
Do you have faith in the American teams and delegation that you're talking to, that they too want to achieve an end to the conflict and be able to negotiate between the two sides?
Look, we believe that President Trump has done a lot of work and hard work in different areas in this region and outside the region. We have seen it in Ukraine, we have seen it in Syria, we have seen it in Yemen. And by adopting negotiations with Iran to solve this conflict, to de-escalate the tensions everywhere and to reach a more peaceful world. I think this is what is motivating us to continue contacting the American administration, regardless of the team, because we believe that he has done it and he can do it. And I think President Trump has the capability and the will to reach this peaceful situation.
I got the sense that he was trying to flatter Donald Trump, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He said Donald Trump is the only person who can achieve peace in Gaza. He said, look what he's done in Syria. And of course, he was referencing the fact that sanctions have been lifted on Syria. And he virtually embraced this jihadi leader turned rebel leader turned president of Syria just the other day. He talked about the fact that Donald Trump has tried to resolve the issues with the Houthis in Yemen. He talked about the Iranian nuclear deal. So he's sort of, as you say, flattered Donald Trump.
I kind of get the sense with Gaza that Trump hasn't really been able to focus on that particular challenge in the way that he has with other ones, because it's just too complicated for him. Is that simplifying it too much? With Iran, it's simple. It's like no nuclear weapons, right? With Syria, it's quite simple. It's Assad's gone. There's a new guy in town. He's handsome. He's a fighter. He's tough, and there's investment opportunities there as well. So those are quite simple. Maybe there is an investment opportunity in Gaza, as Trump would see it, but beyond that, it's kind of complicated, isn't it? It's sort of, just tell me again how this all started.
And why don't they just want to leave and be put somewhere else? I mean,
why would they want to live there? He literally keeps saying that.
Absolutely, and
Or ignorance.
And actually, this Hamas official said to me, "We're not in the business of Gaza being up for sale or offered for anyone else. This is our land, and we want to have a path to statehood." So, as you say, it remains something that is complex for him to grasp.
What is worth pointing out is that Hamas is a political party. I guess since October the 7th, increasingly people have kind of probably forgotten that. There's a spectrum within Hamas. Dr. Naim is in the more moderate end of that spectrum. And then, of course, it has its military wing. So the guys that you see with the green bandanas and the balaclavas, they are the military wing of Hamas. And actually, I mean, I've interviewed Dr. Naim before in Gaza. I went to his house, and his son was in the military wing of Hamas and was killed by the Israelis. So there is a personal attachment, of course, that he has to all of this. But he's in the moderate end of Hamas. What's he doing in Doha?
Well, this is often something that the Qataris have come under heavy criticism for. They had the same issue when they had the office for the Taliban here in Doha before they took over Afghanistan. And I have interviewed the Qatari Prime Minister who said to me, you should ask the Americans that. You should ask President Obama that. It was based on requests from the Americans because they wanted an address, somewhere that they could contact and speak to Hamas directly rather than the militant wing that you see in Gaza. They obviously can't get a hold of them. They're in the tunnels in Gaza and they're fighting. They need an address for the political guys here. The Qataris have said, we'll ask them to leave tomorrow. We'll ask them to leave in the morning. They can go to Istanbul or they can go and base themselves out of Tehran. They remain here because the United States wants them here.
Fascinating. And you can see all of Yalda's interview on our website.
So at the start of the week, Mark, you and I were unsure. We talked about this, what the thrust of the week was going to be. Was it going to be diplomacy, securing a ceasefire in Gaza and perhaps getting a bit closer to expanding the Abraham Accords, or was it going to be something else?
Yeah, was it going to be a Putin meeting? Remember, the Saudis were expecting that there would be a meeting between Trump and Putin in Saudi Arabia, in the Gulf. Clearly that didn't work out, nor did the Istanbul meeting, unless something amazing happens in the next 48 hours. So was it that clearly wasn't the focus, or would the focus be business deals, or indeed deals for Trump himself, a new Air Force One? I don't know about you, but it seems to me that there were a number of themes and a number of surprises that came out this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly for me, the embracing of the Syrian leader, Ahmed al-Sharaa, the lifting of sanctions, from Syria. This is America telling the world, good guys, bad guys, if you want to play ball and if you want to do things the way that we think you should do, we'll work with you. But don't step out of line.
Yeah, it was a remarkable moment. It's the image of the week for me so far. And you say it's the Americans saying this. I don't think it is. It's just Trump saying this.
It's also part of what we often hear about Donald Trump. It's the last conversation with the last person he's had. He was with Mohammed bin Salman. He was speaking with Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Both encouraged him to lift these sanctions. And the reason they did that is because for the longest time, Syria has been part of Iran's orbit, sphere of influence network. And so The Gulf states, like the Saudis, like the Qataris, and Turkey, want to bring Syria into their sphere of influence, including opening up Syria's oil and gas and getting Washington to sort of buy Syrian oil and gas and open it up to the world.
Yeah, I mean, I think the second surprise for me was Iran, and I guess the word to describe that is hope, an olive branch. Donald Trump, as you say, kind of opened his arms to the Iranians, standing the other side of the Persian Gulf. He was saying, look, well, you can have all this if you want. If you play ball, if you do things my way, you give up your quest for nuclear weapons, then game on. In Tel Aviv, they must have been throwing things at the television, because not only is their closest ally here in the Gulf and not going to Israel, but he's also doing all the things that Netanyahu doesn't want him to do, whether it's with al-Shara or whether it's with potentially signing a new deal with Iran, or all these trade deals with the Gulf on just the sort of commerce that Israel thinks it's the best at. Green energy, tech. I mean, you know, I've lived in Israel and they bang on about it the whole time that they are the best in the world. And yet they're watching Trump sign away deals with other countries and not go to Israel. It's quite amazing.
Absolutely. And on the nuclear deal, you know, there would be the hardliners in Israel saying, absolutely, don't speak to the Iranians, you know, that we see them as a threat, that they are building a bomb. And with or without you, we want to strike Iran. So he's absolutely doing everything that they don't want him to do.
Netanyahu believes that Iran is taking Trump for a ride. I think increasingly Trump thinks Netanyahu's taking him for a ride because he's continuing with what's happening in Gaza. So Yalda, where are you at the end of this week? I mean, I'll be honest. Trump is a hard person to cover because he's contradictory, and you often don't quite know where he's going to go. Where are you on his foreign policy at the end of this week?
I think that he has been in his comfort zone in this part of the world, not with European leaders, but with leaders who he respects, he admires for the way in which they run their states. They have big money, they've made big investments. And as you say, he's so contradictory, that sort of transactional approach to foreign policy, the art of the deal foreign policy. He sort of knows almost what he's dealing with when he's talking to these people.
He seems to think the art of the deal is the same as the art of diplomacy. I guess we'll find out whether that is the case. For me, I think we have seen a shift in tone and maybe a shift in direction with his foreign policy this past week. Caroline Leavitt, his press secretary, has said just that this is an intentional change in direction for America's foreign policy. But it is confusing because he has been seen as the disruptor for the past 120 or so days now. He's been disrupting Europe. He's been disrupting the world with his tariffs. And yet now he's coming to the Middle East and saying, look, do it my way, play ball, and game on. It's been a fascinating week.
The whole world under Donald Trump changes every single week.
Oh, dear. Well, anyway, it's been great to have you on. Yalda and Richard's podcast, if you don't already know, is called The World. Head to wherever you get your podcasts, subscribe, or you can watch it, I'm sure, on the Sky News app as well. Yalda, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Mark.
That is it for today. But as always, we'd love to hear from you. The email address is trump100@sky.uk, and we will see you on Monday back in Washington for another day of Trump 100. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.